University of Brunei Darussalam. Yeah, and he is graduated from the University of Essex, United Kingdom, for the PhD, and the Master of Science from University of Bedfordshire, United Kingdom as well. Also in the major of entrepreneurship and business management. Yeah, so he is really capable in entrepreneurship field, especially in the academic context, yeah, of entrepreneurship. So please, guys, the participant, the student, if you have any question in during this session, please deliver in the Q&A session. So, Dr. Yazid, I think this is the time. So the time is yours.
Okay, so I'll just share the slides.
Yes. Can you share your slide, Doctor?
Yep, I'm doing that.
All right. All right.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, again, my name is Yazid Abu Bakr Abdullahi, and currently I work as a senior assistant professor at University of Brunei Darussalam. And before joining this university, I also worked with Kingston University in London, and also worked with the University of Essex in the UK, all of them in the field of entrepreneurship. Now, the topic that I've been given is business models for startups. You see, when entrepreneurs are starting a business, one of the first things they have to think about is, how do we organize our business to be able to make money? And this is the gist or the core of what business model is about. So in terms of the agenda, today we're going to cover an introduction to business model. We will try to define the term business model, and then we will cover an aspect of the business model called the lean canvas. In terms of how, because we're delivering this lecture through Zoom, I know your mics are already muted, but if you do, I like to ask questions when I'm giving lectures, okay? So if I ask a question, and if you know the answer, just unmute to respond to the questions, okay? You can unmute to respond to the questions or ask questions, or you can even type your answers, okay? Both are fine. So you either unmute or you can type your answers. And I'd like to say a big thank you again to the committee who have invited me for this lecture. Inshallah, we will try to focus today on business models for startups. So in the first part of the lecture, we're going to do a bit of an introduction. And then we define the term business model. So the first is, do you know this person? Is this James Bond? Who is this person?
I don't know.
Okay, who is this? Anyone has an idea?
Tony Fernandez, sir.
Okay, very good. So this is Tony Fernandez, and very good. So Tony Fernandez is the founder of AirAsia. Now, my question to you is, we all know that AirAsia is very, very popular, particularly in this region. So what do you think is the value that AirAsia brings to customers? What's the main value? What makes it popular?
Low-cost carrier, sir.
Okay, very good, low-cost carrier. So this is referred to as value proposition. Okay, we're going to go one by one before we define the term. So the key value that AirAsia offers to customers is what? It's a low-cost carrier. The flights are very cheap. Okay, in the UK, we have a similar airline called Ryanair, very similar to AirAsia. I think it started before AirAsia. It's so cheap, okay, that in future, they're even thinking that they might be able to offer air travel for free to their customers. You might be thinking, how will they make money? They make money through charging you when you come with your box. You have to pay for it, or when you eat online, on air, okay? So the key message here is the value that AirAsia offers to customers is that it's a low-cost carrier, and it's a very successful airline. So this is what we call the value proposition. Customers will only buy something from you when you offer something to them that has value. And the value that AirAsia offers is it's a low-cost carrier. So the next question I have for you is, how do they make money? What's the primary way in which they make money? Or before I ask you about how they make money, the first is, what type of customers do they focus on? Does AirAsia focus on individual customers, or do they focus on businesses as their customers, or do they focus on government as their customer?
They focus on the individual itself, sir.
Individuals as the customer, very good. Yeah. So this is what we refer to as business to customer, B2C. And how do they make money? That's known as what? The revenue stream. And revenue stream for AirAsia, primarily the main thing they offer is a service. Just like a hotel, airlines also offer service. So we call this service fee. Now, if you pay attention to what I'm doing, you'll see that three things have been mentioned here. The first is what? Value proposition, which is the low cost, it's a low cost airline, AirAsia. Revenue stream. How do they make money? They charge for their service. What type of customers do they focus on? This is a business to customer company. So they primarily focus on individual customers. And this is a very successful business that generates revenue in excess of $1 billion every single year. Next, we take another example before we go into definitions. And what about this guy here? Did I hear Michael Jackson from somewhere? Okay, so no one has an idea who this person is. So I will talk about who he is. So this is someone called Jack Lang. I've actually met him when I was in the UK. He used to be at Cambridge University. And he, together with his friends, about 6 of them, they got together and they created the world's cheapest computer. At that time, they created a computer that you can buy for only $25. So very, very cheap computer. $25, you buy a computer. And that computer is called what? The Raspberry Pi. It's a very small computer. I'll show you a picture of it. And something about this business is that initially, when they started this business, the reason why they started it is, even though he was at Cambridge University, which is one of the best universities in the world, they noticed that many people were not taking computer science as a subject. So they decided, what if we can create the world's cheapest computer so that it can be used to train kids, not just in the developing worlds, in the developed economies like the UK and US, but also even in the developing countries, to teach kids how to do computer science. So that was the motivation for creating this computer. So 6 of them got together and they created the world's cheapest computer. And when they did that, just before they launched it, they happened to know someone that works with BBC, and he wrote an article about them saying that these entrepreneurs, Jack Lang and his colleagues, have invented the world's cheapest computer. So finally, the 6 of them got together and they manufactured about 10,000 units of this computer, thinking the best way to sell this computer is to sell individual units to customers. But to their surprise, on the first day they launched the computer, when they launched this business called Raspberry Pi, it started selling so fast. According to Jack Lang, he said there was a time that they were selling 700 computers per second. So the computer was so successful that eventually their website crashed. It could not handle the number of customers. And so they knew that they had a problem. Initially, this business started as business to customer, selling to individual customers. But they saw that this business model, 6 of them could not handle it because there was too much demand. So they now decided to change the way they do business. And they said, instead of manufacturing, 6 of us cannot manufacture enough units to satisfy customer demand. So we're now going to give manufacturing to large businesses located in Taiwan and some other parts of the world. They will help us to do the manufacturing. We license the design to them. Listen to the keywords. We license the design to them. They do the manufacturing. And then when they sell the computer, they give us something in return called royalties. So I have given you a background of this company, and now I'm going to ask you questions. So this is a picture of the Raspberry Pi. It's a very small computer, very, very small. You can literally put it in your pocket, almost the size of your credit card. So what is the value proposition of Raspberry Pi? Who can tell me what the value proposition is? What's the main value that customers get from buying this?
And educational.
Okay, it's educational. That's one. That's correct. Any other value? Why will customers buy this computer? Any other one apart from it's educational? Okay, so the
Because
other
it is less expensive.
Yeah, it's not expensive. It's only $25, the world's cheapest computer. So you can see one of the key value propositions is the low price. For $25, you can buy a computer. And it became a very, very successful innovation, by the way. There was a time they actually became the fastest growing computer company in the world. Now, my second question to you is, how do they make money? Do they target individual customers, or do they target businesses as customers, or do they target government as customers?
They do individually.
Individuals, right?
Yeah.
As customers. That's what one of you said. Anyone has another view? Okay, so we'll get to that, okay? So now let's look at Raspberry Pi. Actually, the main revenue stream for them is not through targeting individuals, it's through licensing, okay? You remember I mentioned the word licensing? So instead of selling, initially when they started, yes, they started as business to customers, targeting individuals. But when they saw that they could not manufacture enough units, they changed the business model. And now what they do is they license the manufacturing of Raspberry Pi to businesses in US, UK, and Taiwan. When those businesses manufacture Raspberry Pi, they sell it, they give Raspberry Pi royalties, okay? They give the company royalties. And this is what you call licensing. So because of that, we now say this company is business to business, because primarily they make their money from the businesses that license the design, okay? So businesses license the design. Those businesses are in US, UK, and Taiwan. They do the manufacturing and they give them royalties in return. So you call this business to business. And the last example we take before we start the lecture is a company that is well known to all of you, but I'm not sure you know who the founder is. Anybody knows who this guy is? 100% I know you've all heard the name of this company, but surprising, most likely you may not know maybe the name of the person. Okay, so this guy you see on the screen is actually the founder of eBay, and everybody knows eBay here, right? His name is Pierre Omidyar. Okay, so Pierre Omidyar, you all know what eBay is about. eBay is an online platform where any individual, anywhere in the world, okay, any individual, if you're based in a country where eBay is, you can go there and sell your product. Let's say, for example, I have a laptop and I'm tired of my laptop. I can go and register with eBay and I sell my laptop on eBay platform, and any customer can buy it through eBay. So you all have an idea what eBay is. So what do you think is the value proposition of eBay? The main value proposition of eBay is that it's a marketplace where individual buyers and sellers can trade freely. So eBay does not sell anything by itself. It only connects people. It connects people that have what? Products to sell with individual customers. And we refer to this as the value proposition of eBay. It's connecting people. It's a marketplace where individual buyers and sellers can trade freely. So the next thing is, how do you think eBay makes money? Since I said eBay does not own anything, how do they make money? How do you think they make their money? Any ideas? Or is eBay a charity business? If it's not a charity business, how do they make money?
By charging the people who want to sell their products.
Okay, excellent answer, Amalia. That's a good answer. It's called commission. Okay, so they make their money through commission. People come to them, they sell their products, let's say a laptop, and eBay charges a commission for every product that is sold on their platform. So the next question is, what type of customers does eBay target? Does it target individual customers, businesses, government? What do you call that type of approach?
I think global mass market,
You said global mass market?
or
Okay.
maybe shoppers.
Okay, so good attempt, you're close. So you call that C2C, which is customer to customer, okay? Customer to customer, because eBay is connecting individual people. Anyone, if I were living in the US now or in the UK or wherever eBay has a platform, if I get tired of my laptop, I can just go and register if I want to and sell my laptop or my phone or anything you have. And then individual customers will buy from you. So it's a C2C business. And this company is one of the most successful e-commerce companies in the world. They generate revenue of over $15 billion every year. So now what we have done is we have looked at 3 different businesses. And interestingly, what you will find is these 3 businesses are all successful businesses. AirAsia, Raspberry Pi, and what? eBay. However, if you look at how they make money, they all make money in a different way. AirAsia makes money by charging what? Service fee. Okay, when a customer goes, they pay for the service of being carried in an airplane. So it's called service fee. Raspberry Pi makes money by licensing their Raspberry Pi to other businesses, and they get royalties in return. And then eBay makes money through commission. 3 different ways to make money. And look at the customers they're targeting. Also very different customers. AirAsia targets individual customers. So it's a B2C company. Raspberry Pi primarily targets other businesses by licensing to them. So it's a business-to-business company. And eBay makes money by connecting people. Any individual can connect to another individual and they can sell their products. So it's called C2C. So the gist of what we have done now is to show you that in business, there isn't one single way to make money. There are actually multiple ways to make money. So you can organize your business in different ways and you can still be successful. All these businesses are organized in different ways, but they're still making money. And this is what business model is about. So in business model terms, we will say that the business model of AirAsia, how they make money, is different from the business model of Raspberry Pi. And the business model of Raspberry Pi is different from the business model of eBay because they all make money through different ways. So this is what business model is about. So now that we have introduced some few terms, we will now define the term business model. So business model, the term business model refers to a company's plan for making profit. How do you intend to make money? What's your plan for making money? Do you intend to make money by charging commissions? Do you intend to make money by licensing? How do you plan to make money? All those are parts of business model. A business model identifies the products or services that a business plans to sell. Its identified target market and anticipated expenses. This is another definition. So this definition is talking about, if you want to talk about your business model, you need to talk about which product you plan to sell. Who are your key customers? Are they B2C or is it B2B or C2C? And the expenses of running your business. So this is another definition. You see, business model in today's world, before you launch a startup, you need to know what your business model is. If I were to start a new business today, the first thing I want to think about, even before launching the startup, is what's my business model? How do I plan to make money? What are the costs involved in starting my business? Who are my customers? So I have to think carefully about those things. Think, for example, of a car manufacturer. If a car manufacturer wants to manufacture a car, let's say a company like Mercedes-Benz, a very popular company, the first thing they will do if they want to manufacture a car is they will do a model design. So they will design the car first on a piece of paper. They look at how the dimensions look like, what the car looks like, and then they go out and manufacture the real car. They don't start straight away from the real car. They start by designing the car first. The same thing when it comes to building a business. The first thing you should do is you should design what your business model looks like, and then you go out and build the real business. You first design what your business looks like on a piece of paper in one page, and then you go out and build the business. So there are 2 ways you can do that design, 2 main popular ways. The first one is called lean canvas. Don't worry about what the term means. I will show it to you. And the second one is called the business model canvas. Both are useful. Both can be used by startups, but the lean canvas is more popular with startups, so I will focus on the lean canvas. So this is what the lean canvas looks like. Okay, this is what the lean canvas looks like. It's a one-page thing, one-page template that allows you to think about your business model. It describes your business model. You remember we talked about value proposition earlier? Raspberry Pi, the value proposition is low price. Air Asia, it's low price. This is where you talk about your value proposition. Okay? And you remember we talked about revenue, how you make money. We said eBay makes money through commission. So you see in one page, you do that. So the business model canvas, lean canvas, has 9 building blocks. If you count them, there are 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 building blocks. And if you can complete this build, you can describe the business model of any business on one page through the use of this canvas. And what we're going to do in this lecture is we're going to cover the sections of this canvas so that you can see how it is applied. And to be able to do that, I'm going to draw from an example of a company here in Brunei. And this company is called Al-Hufaz Management. I'm going to use it as an example to describe what the business model is. Al-Hufaz Management is essentially a website business. Okay, it's a website business. It's a website platform. The business was founded by an entrepreneur called Muhammad Luqman. Okay, Haji Muhammad Luqman, and he's a Bruneian. And the core of this business, okay, is that it's an online platform, a website that matches Al-Quran and Arabic educators. You know, there are people that teach Quran, there are people that teach Arabic. But then there are some students that want to learn Arabic, or there are parents that want their kids to learn Arabic or learn Quran. So this company created a website that connects the two. So people that teach Quran or Arabic can register on their website. And people that are looking for Quran teachers or Arabic teachers, they also go to Al-Hufaz Management and they search for educators there. And this business has been successful in Brunei. Recently, they've started expanding into Singapore and Indonesia. So they're also expanding into your country now. And this is the website of Al-Hufaz. You can see, if you come to their website, what can you see? It says you can sign up as a student. So if you want to learn Arabic and you're looking for a teacher, you sign up as what? A student. And if you're an Arabic teacher, you sign up as what? As an educator. And this is actually the Sultan of Brunei. This is the Sultan here, giving Luqman, this is the entrepreneur called Luqman, giving him an award for being, for entrepreneurship program. He won an award for building a startup, which has been useful to the community. So you can see, you can sign up as a student, you can sign up as an educator. So my question to you, a quick question is this a business-to-business company? Is it a C2C, customer to customer, or is this a business-to-customer company, B2C? Which one do you
I
think?
think
Customer.
it's business to customer.
Excellent. Customer to customer. Very good. Well done. Okay. So customer to customer, because they're connecting individuals with individuals. That's what their business is. And so they take commission as their revenue. So now, for us to be able to talk about the canvas, what we're going to do is, I told you the canvas has different components. We're going to start by talking about problem and solution. You can see something there written, problem and solution. Now, entrepreneurs, remember something. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers. So if you want to build a startup, the first thing you should think about is, what problem am I solving for people? Because startups are what? Problem solvers. Now, let's take an example. before we go back to Al-Huffaz, okay, let's take an example. Everybody knows Uber because you have Gojek, right? So you all know what Uber is. Now think about it. Before the coming of Uber, there was a time there was no Uber at all in the world. So there were taxis, but there was no Uber. And the taxi industry, taxis had a lot of problems in those days. Many, many problems. One of them is sometimes you will be standing and you have to wait for taxi to come because you can't call it through Uber at that time, right? There was no Uber. So you have to wait for taxis to pass by the road. You keep waving and some of them don't stop. Or sometimes they carry you and then you give them money and they tell you we don't have change. All those problems existed, okay? I remember there was a time I went to Paris, that's in France, and I went to a place called Nancy in France. So Nancy is a bit far from Paris. So when I got there, there were two of us, we got there. It was winter, December, very, very cold, and we were standing outside. And at that time, I didn't have my Uber app with me. So I experienced a bit of what used to happen in the past. So many taxis were passing, we kept on waving and waving. We were there for over 1 hour out in the cold weather. No taxi stopped at all, okay? And we didn't have any app to call any taxi. Finally, after 1 hour, one gentleman was passing and we asked him, do you know where this hotel is? Because we were looking for our hotel. And he said to us, it's actually just right there. We didn't know that our hotel was just 100 meters or 200 meters away from us. Okay, so we wasted all that time. So the key point is there were a lot of problems in the taxi industry before the coming of Uber. But the coming of Uber solved a lot of those problems. How did they solve it? Today, you don't have to stand outside in the cold weather or hot weather and call for taxi. You can literally sit down at the comfort of your home and use the Uber app or the Gojek app and you call the taxi. So that's problem solving. They have solved that problem. You also don't have to carry cash. All you have to do is pay through your card. So there's no need to carry cash. And when the driver comes, you can see the identity of the driver. And we all know Uber has become such a successful company worth over $70 billion. So the reason is they've been able to solve problems. So you as an entrepreneur, you also have to think, what problem are you solving? So for Uber, the solution they came up with is an app that allows people to call taxi. That's the solution they came up with. So similarly, Al-Huffaz also has a problem they're trying to solve. Okay, can anyone tell me what problem do you think Al-Huffaz is trying to solve? And what is the solution that they have come up with? Any idea based on the little background I gave you about Al-Huffaz? If there's no website like Al-Huffaz, what problems do educators or students face? Any ideas?
Both educators and students have a hard time finding the right, for students finding the right teachers, and for teachers finding a students.
Excellent. So you can see you have to think about the problem. That's an excellent answer. So a way to find ideas in entrepreneurship is you use a formula. It's a simple formula. You identify a problem that people face, something that people lack. Maybe there are some things that Indonesians want to buy, but they can't find it in Indonesia. That's a problem. And you come up with a solution by helping them to get that thing. Just like Uber identified problems in taxi industry, they came up with a solution. Al-Huffaz identified problems in that many people want to find educators. They want to find Arabic teachers or Quran teachers, but they don't know how to find them. That's a problem. Solution, they came up with a website that allows you to book Quran teachers and Arabic teachers. And if you can create a solution to a problem, you have an opportunity for doing a startup. This is how startups are created. Identify a problem, propose a solution. So In the case of Al-Huffaz, the main problem is difficulty. People face difficulty finding Quran and Arabic educators. And Al-Huffaz created a solution by building a website for matching Quran and Arabic educators with students. If you put the two together, problem and solution, that gave them opportunity to build Al-Huffaz, and it became a successful business. So now all you do is you go back to the business model canvas. So you write on the problem. For Al-Huffaz, the main problem is what? Difficulty finding Quran teachers and difficulty finding Arabic teachers. What solution did they find? They have a website for booking Quran teachers and booking Arabic teachers. Okay, so that's the problem and the solution. The next thing is the customer segment. The customer segment, if you go back, this is where the customer segment is in the canvas. It's the one at the right corner. That's the one we want to build now. So the customer segment, the customer segment building block defines the different groups of people or organizations that an enterprise aims to reach. If you're building a business, you have to think, who am I targeting as a customer? So you all know this place, right? Everybody knows this place. Where is this? Do you know this mall?
No, sir.
Okay, none of you knows it. Okay. So I'm going to use one of the local malls as an example for you. Everybody knows in Yogyakarta, you know the Hartono Mall, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, we do.
So that one, if you think about it, what kind of customers do they target? Primarily, they target individual customers. So this is business to customer. The second example we have is Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi licenses their design to other businesses and they get royalties in return. And this is known as what? Business to business, because they target other businesses as customers. Another example of business to business is Apple. You know, Apple manufactures phones. And sometimes, often they sell those phones to distributors. And distributors help them to do what? To distribute the phones. So they make a lot of money from distributors. If you're a shoe manufacturer, you may also decide to go for B2B. So you manufacture your shoes, you go and find some shops that sell shoes and you sell your shoes to them. So you're not dealing with the individual customer, you're dealing with shoe retailers. So that also is B2B. So you may decide to be a B2B business or B2C. You can also decide to be a customer-to-customer business. For example, eBay is customer-to-customer because it connects individuals to individuals. And you can even be a business-to-government business. So you target government as your primary customer. For example, I am sure there are literally thousands of Indonesian companies that do government contract. So they make their money by getting contracts from government, and that's primarily how they make their money. So you can see when you're building a business, you have to think of the type of customers you're targeting. Another way you think about customers you're targeting is through what is called segmentation, okay? You can target customers based on different characteristics of the customers. For example, you can segment customers based on age. Let's take an example of a company that targets customers based on age. Can you think everybody knows Mothercare here? Mothercare, who are their primary customers?
Children and adults.
Children, okay, and women also, nursing women. So they don't target big macho men as customers, right? Okay, mainly children. If you think about income, think about Mercedes and Rolls-Royce. They tend to target what? High income people. If you think about gender, think about the body shop. So the body shop targets primarily women. Of course, men can buy things from the body shop, but their primary customers are what? Mainly women. So you can see you can do customer segmentation based on different characteristics. So as a startup, you have to think of who are your primary customers so you can focus on them. Now, I have a question for you. You've learned about business-to-business customers. You've learned about, maybe you've seen the answer already. Some of you are fast, right? Okay. You've learned about business-to-business customers and also B2C and other forms. Which one of them do you think is the best way to build high growth startups? Do you think B2B businesses are more successful than B2C, or is it that B2C businesses are more successful than B2B? Which one do you think? You can succeed with both, but I'm just asking about which one primarily tends to create high growth companies?
Business
Which
to
one do you think is better?
customer.
So you said business to customer. Anyone has another opinion?
It's B2B.
B2B, good. So now you said business to customer. Why do you think business to customer is the best? We will look at the answer after this, okay? But is there any reason why you said business to customer?
Because I think if we have a great model and design, I think it can appeal to many customers and we can individually reach more to them.
More to them. Okay, good. So that's a good reason. And B2B also, there are some reasons. So before I show you the answer, one thing to keep in mind is both B2B and B2C can be very, very, very successful. Indeed, all of them. However, there's a study that was done in the UK and US, and they tried to find out those people that are building high growth startups, which business model do they primarily use? Is it B2B or B2C? And based on that study, what they found out is the vast majority of high growth startups in the UK, in United Kingdom, are B2B businesses. And in the US, also, very similar pattern. Okay? Now, some of you might be wondering, why is it that B2B tends to generate more high growth companies than B2C? I'll tell you why. Let's assume I'm a shoe manufacturer and I manufacture shoes. One way for me to sell my shoes is to be B2C. So I open my own shop, I manufacture the shoes, open my own shop, and then I wait for individual customers to come. When a customer comes, maybe one customer might come and he buys one pair of shoes. Another one comes with his wife and kids. He buys for his wife and he also buys for his kids, and they go. Now think about the other way. Another way is to be B2B. If you're B2B business, what happens? On day one, if a company, especially a large company, decides to get orders from you because you're selling your shoes to some other retailers. Let's say I decide to sell shoes through the Hartono Mall or some other big, large mall, and they decide to take orders from me. On day one, they might buy up to 2,000 pairs or even 10,000 pairs. So you can see on the first day, I'm already making a lot of money versus waiting for individuals to buy. In fact, there's a company called Tesco in the UK. It's a grocery store, just like you have, I think you have 7-Eleven in Indonesia. So similar to that, but it's much bigger than 7-Eleven. It's called Tesco. It's one of the largest retailers in the world. So there's an entrepreneur, a small entrepreneur that was manufacturing something. And he was lucky that Tesco said, okay, we want to start buying your product. So he was very happy to win a contract from Tesco. He's going to be a supplier for Tesco. He's going to be B2B. And so Tesco asked him, how many units of your product do you think we're going to buy? And he was so excited, he said 10,000 units. And they said, no, the minimum order we make is 300,000 units. What does that mean? On day one, he's already most likely making millions of pounds, because when they buy 300,000 units of your products, it means you're already making millions. And that's why B2B businesses tend to grow very fast. However, as I mentioned, both B2B and B2C can be successful, and B2G can also be successful. This is just saying which ones grow faster. So based on what we have mentioned, what is Al Huffaz customer segment? B2B, B2C, or C2C?
C2C.
C2C, excellent. So now we go back to the canvas and we write C2C. You can see it's a C2C company, and this is what the business is about. The next thing is we now think about the value proposition. And value proposition essentially is about, it describes the bundle of products and services that create value for your customers. What type of value are you adding to customers? Is it that you're giving them quality? You know, there are some companies, primarily their products have what? High quality. Okay, think about a Rolex watch. Okay, Rolex is very expensive, but it's also very high quality. And there are some other businesses that have what? Low price, very cheap. Okay, I don't know what Indonesian company focuses on low price, but I'm sure there are many of them that you know. In the UK, there's a company called Primark. Maybe some of you that have been to the UK, you might know Primark. Primark, they sell very cheap clothing. Okay, and if you see people coming out of Primark, you see them coming out with very, very big bags, okay, because their clothes are so cheap. And then opposite, in London, there's a street called Oxford Street, very popular with shopping. So there's a big Primark shop there, and opposite Primark, there's another high-end, very expensive shop called Selfridges. If you see people coming out of Selfridges, they're literally carrying smaller bags, okay, much smaller bags, because the shop is expensive, but it's high quality. So they use this as the value proposition, but Primark uses low price. Air Asia uses low price. Raspberry Pi uses low price. And there's also fast delivery. Even that can be of value if you can deliver a product very fast. Okay, so think about, there's a company started by some young Arabs in Dubai. And this company, what it does is, it delivers any product that you buy. It's an e-commerce company, so they sell things online. There's nothing special about what they sell online. So they just sell regular electronics and things like that. But what makes them special, their value proposition is, anything you buy from them, they deliver it to you within 1 hour. So you just go to their website, do your shopping. In 1 hour, you get your shopping at home. So that's fast delivery. And that's a value proposition. So if you're doing a startup, you have to think, what value am I adding to customers? Am I going to be a high quality company? Or am I going to offer low price? Am I going to have fast delivery? And there are some other ways to offer value, maybe like connecting people, just like what eBay does, okay? eBay connects people. That's a form of value proposition, okay? You're connecting individual customers with other individuals. So now, based on what I have mentioned, what do you think is the value proposition of Al Huffaz?
Connecting people.
It's connecting people.
Excellent, okay? So we go back to the canvas and we write connecting people. The value proposition is matching Al-Quran educators with students who want to learn Quran. Another value proposition they have is quality, because this has to do with quality. They only allow certified Quran educators to register. So not anybody that says, I know how to teach Quran, they don't let you teach it. You have to have a certificate that shows you have quality. So this is a form of quality, okay? So that's another value proposition. So you can have more than one value proposition as a business. The next thing is the channels. Now, the channels is, if this is your product, how do you get your product to the customer? That's called the channel. How do you get your product to the customer? Channels describes how a company reaches its customer segments to deliver the value proposition. There are two types of channels: direct channels and indirect channels. Direct channels have to do with selling through your own website or your own shop, okay? So things that you own. So if I have my own website and I sell through it, I'm using a direct channel. If I have my own shop and I sell through it, that is using direct channel. For example, Hartono Mall, they have their own shopping mall, okay? Or any other business that has its own facility and uses its facility to make money, then this is called direct, okay? Indirect, on the other hand, is selling through distributors and wholesalers. So you're using middlemen, okay? In the case of indirect channel, if, for example, let's say I produce a pen, okay, that is a smart pen, okay? I produce a pen that is a smart pen, high-tech pen for writing, but it's electronic, it can do so many things. One way I can do is to sell it directly by opening my own shop or my own website. Another way is I can use indirect channels. I might decide to go to eBay and sell my pen. So for me, eBay becomes an indirect channel because I don't own eBay. Or I might get other businesses to buy from me. So a business might come in, let's say a particular shop like Hartono that you have, they might buy thousands of this pen from me and then they sell it to customers. So that means I use what? Indirect channel. Okay? Now, as a startup, you need to decide whether you want to use direct channels or indirect channels. By the way, both can be useful. Both can build successful companies. All of them can build successful companies, but I'm just going to show you an example of how sometimes changing the channel can give you advantage. So let's take an example. Everybody has heard about Xiaomi here, and this company makes what? The Mi phones, okay? So you all know their phones, okay? Now, imagine this company. This company literally is a startup company. They were only started a little over 10 years ago. And within a very short time, it became, at one time, the third or the fourth largest smartphone manufacturer in the world. How were they able to achieve such level of success when we know that there are big rivals like the Samsungs, the Apples, the HTCs, but this company still managed to achieve that level of success? What did they do? So let's look at this example. Before the coming of Xiaomi, the way manufacturers manufacture phones, manufacturers like Apple, is they use what is called traditional model of manufacturing. Okay, so a company like Apple will manufacture Apple products, let's say Apple phones, the iPhone. When they manufacture the iPhone, they sell the iPhone to what? Wholesalers. And then the wholesalers buy thousands of Apple phones. And then the wholesalers sell to the retailers. And the retailers also buy thousands, and finally the phone gets to the final consumer. This is the traditional method. So this is called indirect channel, right? For Apple, this is indirect channel. So Apple uses indirect channels because they have to sell to wholesalers and retailers. Finally, they get to the consumer. Do you know what Xiaomi did? They said, we're not going to use wholesalers. We don't need them. They also said, we don't need retailers. And we're going to sell directly to the consumer. Now, you might be wondering, how does that give Xiaomi any advantage? Now look at this. Let's go back to Apple. Apple, maybe when they want to sell their iPhone, Apple might need only $700. If they sell the iPhone at $700, as an example, they can make a profit. However, because Apple uses middlemen, the wholesalers will buy the phone from Apple, and what do? They add the price. Can you see? Now the price of the iPhone goes from 700 to 1,000. Why? Because they have to make profit. When it gets to the retailer, what do you think the retailer will do? They will also add their own price, right? So the price becomes 1,300. So you as the customer, by the time you buy an Apple phone, you're buying it at what? $1,300. Expensive. So what about Xiaomi? They said, if it's $700, we don't need middlemen to add the price. We sell it directly to the customer. So when they first launched their business, they were only selling their phones online, strictly online through their own website. You could not go to any wholesaler, any retailer, and you find Xiaomi phones at that time. That way, they were able to produce high quality phones, and they sell them much cheaper than Apple. Look at Apple phones here, 1,300. Look at Xiaomi phones, $700, much, much cheaper. So this allowed them to sell high quality phones at cheap price, whereas Apple was selling high quality phones at expensive price. Can you see? And because of this, Xiaomi became a very successful startup. Another example of using indirect channel is a company known as Bloom and Wild. Bloom and Wild, they sell flowers, okay? But they noticed a certain problem with flowers. If you're a flower producer, what happens? Flowers typically spoil in 14 to 16 days. If you produce your flowers before you sell them, if you don't sell them within 14 to 16 days, they spoil. If you add middlemen, if you remember, if you add middlemen like this, they will also add your cost. So that's another problem if you use middlemen. So what did this company called Bloom and Wild do? They said, if we're using traditional model, where the flower producers, if we use middlemen, they will add what? The cost. Our flowers will become more expensive. At the same time, if we add middlemen, it will take longer for the flowers to get to the customer. So they also said, we don't need wholesalers, we don't need retailers, and they started selling directly. And this gave them advantage because now their flowers became cheap, and at the same time, the flowers were lasting longer with the customer because they were selling them directly. So you can see sometimes using direct channels can give you advantage, but also remember sometimes using indirect channels can also give you advantage. So you have to decide as a startup which one you want to choose. So now we go back to Al-Hufaz. Okay, before we go to Al-Hufaz, one other thing that you need to remember is you can also combine both direct and indirect channels. Don't think that you have to use only direct channels. Sometimes companies combine. Apple is one of those companies that uses both direct and indirect channels. So when Apple as a business sells their phones through wholesalers and retailers, this is known as indirect channel. But do you know that Apple has its own shop? Have you heard about the Apple shop? I don't know if they have a branch in Indonesia, but certainly in London you find Apple shops. In US you find Apple shops. I think there might be in Singapore. I don't know if they have opened in Indonesia. Apple also has its own website, which is a direct channel. Apple has its own website. You can go to their website and order. So Apple uses both direct and indirect channels, and it's possible to do that as a business. So now we go back to Al-Hufaz. In your view, do you think Al-Hufaz uses direct channels or indirect channel? From the little you have heard about Al-Hufaz.
Direct channel.
Direct channel, very good. Al-Hufaz uses direct because they use alhufaz.com, okay? It's their own website, that's how they reach people. So that's a direct channel. So now we have 4 more components. The next thing is called unfair advantage. You see, when you start a business, if your startup is unique, if you have a unique product, at first it won't have much competitors, but you've got to think about the future. Because if you build a successful business and people hear, oh, Amalia and some other ones, Rudy and others are making money, and Pamiftar, he has started this startup, is making millions of dollars. What do you think other people will do? You think they just watch you and say, well done, Pamiftar? That's not what they're going to do. Everybody will want to start copying you, right? Everybody starts copying you. So you have to think, how can I protect myself from copying? What can give me advantage? Now, that thing that can give you advantage is called unfair advantage. There are different ways you can get an advantage. The first one is called first mover advantage. First mover advantage means you're the first to do something. For example, in Indonesia, can you give me an example of a company that was the first to start something in Indonesia?
Gojek.
Gojek, very good. So in Indonesian context, Gojek was the first company to start to have an app that calls motorcycles or cars. So that gave them what? First mover advantage. First mover advantage, by the way, is very powerful. However, it's also temporary, because soon afterwards, you have to remember rivals will start coming. For example, Grab is already there in Indonesia. I remember the first time I went to Indonesia, I was thinking I was going to see Gojek everywhere. But to my surprise, in so many places, I was seeing Grab also, okay? Grab is also so big in Indonesia. So you have to remember first mover advantage is good, but it is temporary. Another way you can get unfair advantage is patent. If you have a patent for your invention, patent is government protects you. Let's say I create a smart pen. I invent a pen that no one has that technology, or I invent a mobile phone that has hologram, the first in the world, I can patent it. That can protect me. Another one is copyright. Okay, let's say I make a particular app design. I have an app, I can copyright it so nobody can copy my design. That can also give you protection. Government can protect you. And that gives you unfair advantage. Another way is maybe you're someone that has some strong business partners that they're very, very difficult to get. Or you have some government connection, you happen to win big government contract, that can give you advantage also. Or maybe you're a specialist chef. You know how to cook and you have this specialist knowledge about making certain types of recipes. Everybody knows KFC here. This is what gave KFC unfair advantage, because their recipe till today is still a secret. It's very, very difficult to imitate Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, and get exactly the same taste. You can imitate them, but getting the taste is very difficult because they have a secret recipe. The same thing with Coca-Cola. Okay, many people are attempting to make Coca-Cola, but to get that Coca-Cola taste is extremely difficult. So that's called specialist knowledge. Okay, specialist knowledge. So you can use any of these ones to try to give you advantage. Another one is network. I didn't add it here, but you can add it, network. Let's say, for example, Gojek. We all know that Gojek already has a large network of motorcycle riders and also large network of car drivers under them. So if you were to go and imitate the Gojek app today, you're going to have a lot of headaches trying to catch up to Gojek. Why? Because almost all of the motorcycle drivers are already with them. Motorcycle riders and car taxis are already with them. So based on the little I have told you, what do you think is the unfair advantage that Al-Hufaz has? That unfair advantage is that Al-Hufaz already has over 600 educators in Brunei, Quran educators and Arabic teachers that are already registered with Al-Hufaz. So a lot of the memorizers of Quran that want to teach Quran, they're already registered with Al-Hufaz. So if you were to try to imitate them today, it's very difficult to get these people away from them. They already have them. The same thing with Gojek, they already have what? Many of the taxi drivers, Gojek and Grab. So difficult to imitate them, and that's the unfair advantage they have. The next thing is money. How do you make money with your business? Okay, there are different ways that you can make money, and we're going to look at them now. This is called the revenue stream. The revenue stream represents the source of cash for a startup. How does your startup plan to make money? Okay, there are different ways in which companies can make money. The simplest one is called product sale, and this is the simplest. For example, Adidas is a shoe manufacturer and they sell shoes, so they sell a product. Apple sells phones, that's selling a product, very simple. The next one is called service fee. You remember I mentioned Air Asia, primarily it's not a product they sell, but they provide a service. So when you provide a service, you charge for the service. It's called service fee. Like Air Asia and some other airlines, even hotels use that. The next one is licensing. And licensing is essentially like Raspberry Pi. If you create a new computer or a new phone, you can license the design to other companies. They manufacture the product and they give you royalties in return. An example of that is Raspberry Pi. Another way you can make money is through subscription. Everybody knows Netflix, yeah? Even if you don't use Netflix, you've heard about Netflix. You can go to their website and you pay for a monthly subscription to be able to view their content, their movies and other things. On online newspapers like Financial Times, you can also register with them through monthly subscription. Now, subscription, although you know subscription with Netflix and companies like that, but actually subscription is also used even in the car industry. Today, there's a startup company in the US, it also operates in the UK, and they do car subscription. So what do they say? You don't have to own a car anymore. You don't have to buy a car. You can subscribe to their service. So you go to their website, you pay $100 or so monthly, every month you pay $100, and they have a lot of cars, hundreds of cars parked. You use your membership card to go and unlock the car and you drive it. You go wherever you want. When you finish, you park it. So you can do car subscription. So the name of the company is Zipcar, founded in US. It was founded in the year 2000. And their main source of revenue is car subscription. So you don't own car, but you subscribe for the car. Okay? Another source of revenue is freemium. Now, before I mention freemium, does any one of you know how Google makes money? How do you think Google makes money? Or Facebook?
By advertising.
Advertising, very good. Now, if you think about it, imagine if one thing about Google and Facebook, what makes them famous is what? They offer their service to you for free. If Google says $50 per search, you think people will use Google? Everybody will run away, right? By the time you search for 2 keywords, you've paid $100, yeah? So people will run away. If Facebook says to have a Facebook account, you have to pay $200, most people will run away. So they don't do that. So they offer something to you free. But then they charge you, they charge some other people. This is called a freemium model. So a freemium model is a business that offers something for free and then charges some other customers. An example is Dropbox. Dropbox is a cloud storage company. You can store many things in the cloud. Now, the first year you register for Dropbox, you're very, very happy, right? They tell you Dropbox is free and you register and you're really, really happy. By the end of the first year, what happens? They start sending you emails. Pamifta is running out of space, right? You have to upgrade your account. And in the beginning, you're like, okay, let me go and delete some files from Dropbox. Eventually, you get tired of deleting and your Dropbox account gets filled up. You start getting a lot of emails from them. You have to register to get extra space. And eventually, you start paying. That's how they make money. They offer some people free, but sometimes they charge. This is called freemium. It's a combination of 2 words. Free means you offer something free. Premium means you charge some other people, people that want more space, or people that want advertising, and all of that. So companies like Google, Facebook, they all use freemium business model. And of course, advertising is another way to make money. Like TV companies primarily use advertising. Companies like radio companies use advertising. Newspaper companies also use advertising. And commission. Commission is also another way to make money. A company like eBay, for example, Gojek and Grab, they all use commission. So when you order a cab, a taxi from Grab or Gojek, Gojek gets a commission for every order. So you can see that as a startup, you have different ways in which you can make money. So now, based on the little you have heard, how do you think Al-Hufaz makes money? Which is the source of revenue for Al-Hufaz?
It's commission.
Commission, very good. So
Yeah.
excellent, it takes commission. And now we have 2 building blocks left for us to end the lecture, inshallah. The next one is the cost structure. Every business has certain costs to it. If you want to run a business, there are certain things you have to pay. These things include marketing costs to promote your business. If you manufacture a product, you have to pay manufacturing costs. If it's a company that does a lot of research, you have to pay for research. If you employ people, you have to pay their salary, so that's employment cost. So every business has what? Certain types of costs. If we go back to Al-Hufaz, which type of cost do you think this company can have? A company like Al-Hufaz, an online business. Are there particular costs to this type of business? And if so, what type of cost do you think you can have?
Maybe to
Employment.
Okay, employment costs, so they have to employ people. Any other one?
research and development for the website itself.
Yeah, so they have to keep developing their website and they might spend some money on that. It could be R&D.
Marketing.
Marketing costs, because they have to promote their business. So you can see there are many, many costs depending on the type of business that you run. So for this business, employees, they recruit people, website development. Websites have to be hosted also, and there are many other costs that they have, but I just listed a few here. And finally, we have something called the key metrics. And that's the 9th building block. So the key metric building block specifies the indicators used for measuring the effectiveness of your startup. The performance of your startup, you can measure it in different ways. You can measure the sales, how much sales am I making? You can measure how many users do you have? For example, Facebook has what? Number of users. Facebook currently has over 2.4 billion registered users. WhatsApp has over maybe 1 billion or maybe close to 2 billion users. And some other companies look at profit, how much profit they're making. Okay, so there are many, many indicators of performance. Okay, so based on the little we have mentioned, a company like Al-Hufaz might be interested in number of users, and the number of users they might be interested in how many educators have we signed up, how many Quran educators have we signed up, how many Arabic educators have we signed up, and then how many customers have registered with us. All those are number of users. And how much sales are we making monthly? How much profit do we have? All those could be part of their key metrics. Now you can see that using the business model canvas, we've been able to describe the business model of Al-Hufaz in a single page. We now know the value proposition of Al-Hufaz, which is about, so we start with the problem. The main problem that Al-Hufaz faces or is trying to address, not that they face, the problem that they're trying to address is that many people face difficulty in finding Quran teachers and Arabic teachers. And the solution they came up with is a website that allows people to book Quran teachers and also to book Arabic teachers. And it's a C2C company because their customer segment is C2C because they target individual Quran educators and individual customers. Their value proposition is matching Quran educators with students who want to learn Quran. And they also allow only certified educators. The main channel through which people reach Al-Hufaz is alhufaz.com. But remember, on the channel, you can also add others. If you use Instagram, you can add Instagram. If you have Facebook as another channel, you can add it. So all of the ways, if you have a shop, you can add that here. You can use both direct and indirect channels. What's the unfair advantage that they have? They have already signed up over 600 educators in Brunei. And Brunei, remember, is a very small country, so 600 educators means it's quite a lot. And it's difficult for a new startup to come and get these 600 educators away from them. So that's an unfair advantage. How do they make money? They make money through commission. What are the costs they incur? Employment cost, website development. How do they measure their performance, their number of users, and the sales? So in one page, you can describe the business model of virtually any business in the world. And if you're doing a startup, before you go out to launch a business, you should first start by designing your business model. And if you go out, you launch the business, and you find out the business model is not working, what you need to do is you come back to the business model canvas and you change the business. You remember I talked to you about Raspberry Pi. The first time they started, actually, they were B2C. They manufactured their own Raspberry Pi and started selling. But when they saw that the demand was too much for 6 people to handle, they changed the business model to licensing, which made them B2B. So this changed to licensing, this became B2B. So you can always change these things if they don't work, but you design the business, go out and test it, see if you're getting customers. If you get customers, alhamdulillah, you stick to that. If you don't get customers, you come back to the drawing board. That's the business model canvas. You might decide to change the source of revenue or change something else here, and you go back and you try. And the business model canvas that you build, once you have built it, the next thing is you have to design a product that reflects your business model. Can you see this is what Al-Hufaz did? They have this is the canvas, and the website design actually reflects the business model canvas. Can you see it is C2C? You see it says sign up as a student, sign up as an educator. You can clearly see it's C2C, it reflects it. Direct channel, alhufaz.com, you can see alhufaz.com, C2C. How do they make money? Commission, you can see it's commission written here. So you can see there's a connection between the product you design and the business model that you have. The two have to match together. Okay, the two have to match together. And that's what makes a great business, that the product you're designing reflects the type of business model that you have in mind. So when we teach entrepreneurship here, when we start with the business model canvas, the next thing is we ask students to turn their business model canvas into a real product. It could be a website they design or an app, or they could be selling something else, but it has to reflect the business model that they have designed. And we call this the minimum viable product. The first product you develop, we call it the minimum viable product. Once you have designed your product, you go out and test it with customers and see if it resonates. And when you're testing with customers, you also have to listen to the customers, because customers might tell you, we like certain things about your product, but there are certain things that we think you need to improve. So you listen to them and you improve based on the customer feedback. You can see the channel here, alhufaz.com, the channel here, alhufaz.com. C2C as the customer segment, you can see sign up as a student, sign up as an educator, well reflected. Revenue stream is commission. Revenue stream is also commission here. So it matches. The business model matches the product you develop. And this is the business model canvas. You can always go out and design it. You design a business using it. And this is what it's all about. Helping you not to waste time writing 2,000 words or maybe 5,000 words business plan, but to go ahead and design a business model canvas and launch it. There are certain situations where you do need to write a business plan, by the way. But in many cases, you don't need to design a business plan. If investors tell you we need a business plan, then you have to write it. Otherwise, the business model canvas is enough for you. It lays out the plan for your startup in a single page. And as I told you, there are two types of business model. The first one is called Lean Canvas. That's the one we looked at. There's another one that is very, very similar to it called it's called the business model canvas. So it's a 2-minute video. I'll briefly show you that, and then we close the lecture, inshallah. Just hold on. So this is the business model canvas. There are some minor differences between the business model canvas and the lean canvas I showed you, but they are also very, very similar. Okay, so you can listen to the video, you watch it, it's a 2-minute video, And then after that, we end the class, inshallah.
An organization's business model can be described with 9 basic building blocks: your customer segments, your value proposition for each segment, the channels to reach customers, customer relationships you establish, the revenue streams you generate, the key resources and key activities you require to create value, the key partners, and the cost structure of the business model. But it's not sufficient to just enumerate the 9 building blocks. What you really want to do is to map them out on a pre-structured canvas. This is what we call the business model canvas, a tool that helps you map, discuss, design, and invent new business models. Let's briefly go through the 9 building blocks, starting with the customer segments. These are all the people or organizations for which you're creating value. This includes simple users and paying customers. For each segment, you have a specific value proposition. These are the bundles of products and services that create value for your customers. The channels describe through which touchpoints you're interacting with customers and delivering value. The customer relationships outline the type of relationship you're establishing with your customers. The revenue streams make clear how and through which pricing mechanisms your business model is capturing value. Then you need to describe the infrastructure to create, deliver, and capture value. The key resources show which assets are indispensable in your business model. The key activities show which things you really need to be able to perform well. The key partners show who can help you leverage your business model, since you won't own all key resources yourself, nor will you perform all key activities. Then once you understand your business model's infrastructure, you'll also have an idea of its cost structure. So with the business model canvas, you can map out your entire business model in one image. This works for startup entrepreneurs just as well as for the most senior executives.
Okay, so you've watched that, and so we've come to the end of the class. So I'll just upload this. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, today we have covered the business model canvas. You can see that the one we discussed is called the lean canvas, and it's slightly different from the video I showed you, very small differences. As a startup, you're free to choose any one of them, either the lean canvas, the one I showed you, or the business model canvas, the one in the video. And if you ever want to do a startup, it's always advisable to start with this particular tool. Test it. Remember, the business model you describe on one page is not the final one. You have to test it in the real world, design a real product that reflects it, test the real product. If it's successful, alhamdulillah, you stick to that. But if it's not, you come back to the drawing board and you improve your canvas. Now that we have come to the end of the lecture, I would like to thank the administration, the people that have invited me from UMY, and also the students for attending the lecture. And I hope that inshallah, many of you will become successful entrepreneurs in the future, creating multi-million-dollar businesses, and also helping your societies to create jobs and add value to your society. I would also like to thank, as I mentioned, the students for attending the lecture, but also to congratulate your faculty for being able to get the accreditation that was mentioned earlier by Dr. Retno. That's a great achievement, and inshallah, more accreditations will be coming. With this, I say thank you very much for the invitation. I wish you all the best. in future. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yazid, for this very uh, very useful lecturing, and I think we're all enlightened with the knowledge that you have shared with us, and I think this is the time for the student to have a Q&A session, please. If you have any question to Dr. Yazid regarding to the business model course, yeah. Well, actually, we're working on this for the first semester, for the second semester of our class. Uh, we request the student to build their own business idea by using business model canvas. And then for the next course material, we will request students to build their business plan and then execute them in the real situations.
Good.
Yeah, please. Any question?
No, sir.
Yes. Any question? And maybe I would like to greet Pak Taufik that already in our session. Pak Taufik.
Assalamualaikum.
He is live from Spain.
Okay. Okay, mashallah.
Assalamualaikum, Dr.
From
Yazid.
Barcelona.
Waalaikumsalam. Mashallah.
Yeah, that's great. I hope you are doing well.
Okay, mashallah. Is that part of it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
oh, mashallah. Very good. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. I'm glad to see you too.
Well done. So you've become Spanish now, yeah?
Yeah, but I just learned to speak Spanish here.
Mashallah, very good, very good. Good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Very good, very good.
It's now become a very Asian Spaniard. Would you mind to share your thoughts, Pak Taufik? About
Yeah,
this,
I think this is very interesting topic about the lean canvas. Yes, because when I heard from your explanation that this is very useful tool, I think for the entrepreneur to share the idea, to find the idea, because I think it's a little bit different. But it might be the small difference with the business canvas model that we learned before in the courses. But maybe I have the one question regarding the lean canvas, because when you when you explain to us that the lean canvas, when we fill the lean canvas, we start from the problems, since it is very critical, I think, because all of them is rooted from the problems. But sometimes to find the problem is also become the problems. Maybe when we learn from the projects, but it is the case very different, because when we learn from the project, like maybe from the Natima Karims can create the project because they love to ride object, the motorcycles taxi, and they know very many problems because they have experience. But for the entrepreneur that maybe have to identify the problem from the scratch, I think it's very difficult. How to overcome this one, Professor? I mean that so we can the focus and on the problem that we want to solve and create the solution, create the product, create the services, and especially we can also create the value proposition for the customers.
So
maybe, yes.
Normally when we run entrepreneurship class, the way we do it, the business model canvas is usually like sometimes the third or the fourth lecture. So we run something called sources of ideas or sources of problems to help students understand the different ways in which they can find problems. So there are different ways. Problems could be problems related to maybe difficulties that people find, as I mentioned earlier, but it could also relate to something that people need, but they don't get it, or what they get is not adequate. So there are certain things that maybe already exist in Indonesia, but you know that maybe the way it's presented, you know you can improve it. Okay, so it's not, people want improvement in that thing, but they're not getting the improvement. Okay, so you as an entrepreneur can come in. Another one could be your own personal problem. Okay, you could have a personal problem and then turn that personal problem into a business. For example, there's one guy, first he went to, he's from Finland, and he went to Silicon Valley to study as a student. And while he was studying, if you've been to America before, when you buy food in America, especially burgers, they give you big portions, yeah? And he was eating American food and he noticed that he was gaining weight, becoming obese. So that's a personal problem he experienced. But he decided that he was going to create an app that counts the steps that he takes every day. So his target was, if he can take 10,000 steps a day, it will help him to improve his health. So he created an app for solving his own personal problem. And that personal problem ended up becoming a real business because that app became popular and millions of people downloaded it. Another example is WhatsApp, the very WhatsApp that you use. WhatsApp was created out of a personal problem. He created it he wanted to communicate with his friends, and he was looking for a nice way to communicate with his friends, and he created WhatsApp. Initially, it was him and his friends communicating. But eventually, many people started joining the network and it became a business. So all you have to do is you look for things that people need in the society that they cannot get, or things that are already existing that you can improve. Normally, when we run this lecture, before we get to business model, we expose people to 7 sources of, we call them 7 sources of ideas. Different ways with examples of how many entrepreneurs have found needs and problems of people. And then students now get used to finding problems. Then we now tell them to look for problems and needs that people have in Brunei. And then they look for that, and then they turn it into a business by turning it first into a canvas. And from canvas, we go into what we call online business models. So I've not covered that today. So they learn how to set up things online. And then we move into prototyping and minimum viable product creation. Once we have done that, then we move them into another lecture on marketing and the funnel, how you can grow your business. And gradually we move into growth strategies, financing the business, and so many other topics. So there are ways in which you expose students to understanding how needs and problems can be understood in the society.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's right, because sometimes it's difficult to identify the problem that really become the needs in society. So, so that, like I said, it's very critical to first identify the problem.
Yes. So you first teach students to understand what problems are and needs, not just problems, but also what people need, and then gradually they learn to do that.
Yeah.
So instead of telling people look for ideas, if you tell them look for what people need in the society, if they can find that, they can turn that into a business idea.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Taufik, for the sharing and the question. Maybe the other student want to share your thoughts, want to ask some question before we end this session?
Or
Anyone? Yeah, well, actually, we always start the problem as the main source of the business idea, Dr. Yazid. I always say to my student that your own problem is the other business opportunity. Actually. So by identifying your problem, maybe your problem is also experienced by the others, and it might be a good business opportunity. And but before that, we have to design it first before we launch your business, right? And this is actually the business model. Lean Canvas business model Canvas is a tool to develop your business idea. Yeah. So maybe there's no more question, Dr. Yazid.
Yep.
I really thank you for your attending in this session. Please, maybe we will have the next session. Please, you don't mind to be invited again in the future. Yeah, maybe hopefully we can invite you to come to Yogyakarta and give a face-to-face lecturing.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yazid. Stay safe in Brunei Darussalam. Send my warm greetings to the UBD staff
Inshallah.
that always support us, yeah, to develop our department as well as our entrepreneurship courses. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much.
Would you mind if I ask you to share the slide?
Okay.
All right. Maybe the staff of the international program will contact you soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yazid. Thank you so much, Pak Taufik.
Thank you, inshallah.
For your attending today, and thank you so much for the student that has really active activity today. Yeah, and see you next time. And let's end this session with hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yazid.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Miftah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.